Sup nerds, I'm Tom, Marco Polo, or really this one's the Voyages of Marco Polo, but everybody always just says Marco Polo, so let's get into it. The Voyages of Marco Polo is a medium-ish weight Euro, but really worker placement game where dice are your workers that you place, and the faces that they're showing matter. Now, hearing that, you might initially think, oh wait, so that means you can roll a bunch of sixes and I'll roll a bunch of ones, and you got to do better actions than I did just because of the luck of the draw. No, obviously that's not the way it is. I mean, yes, that can matter sometimes, but there's tons of ways to mitigate your luck. There's a lot of balancing in there. And it's more strategic in playing the hand you're dealt instead of just rolling real great and crushing. I mean, so one of the big things in this game is that there are special player powers, and one of the special player powers doesn't even need to roll their dice. They just pick what the die are facing every single turn. That sounds really, really strong, right? Well, I mean, all of these special player powers are strong, but that just goes to show you that, what you roll doesn't dictate how you're going to do everything on your turn, But what you're doing when you're placing your die is pretty straightforward, actually. Like, this is a game that seems like probably like 3 years ago, or maybe like whenever it first came out, which might have been 3 years ago, I probably would have seen as a heavy game. But it's really straightforward. If you've played a bunch of worker placement games before, you'll get this one no problem. But you're mainly going to travel along this map or gain resources to spend them for points. That's it. I mean, that's the most Euro game thing ever, right? Is gain resources, spend them for points. Gain resources, spend them for points. Like 90% of Euro games involve that to some degree. But this is like, contracts are straight up just, 2 camels, 2 gold, and 2 silk for another contract and 7 points. Well, that's pretty straightforward. But that's one of the main things you're going to do is completing contracts on your turn or spend your dice to move along this map, which will... I don't want to say indirectly get you points, but not as straightforward as that contract exchange I just said. But, there are ways to get points from moving around, placing out your houses on little areas that you go to, that both you have like a gold card at the very beginning of the game. So you want to get to those areas that are on your gold card. Actually, you get 2 on your gold cards. You want to get to those areas for points. If you can get all the way to Beijing, you get points. If you can put out all your houses that you have on your board, like if you travel a whole bunch, then you'll get points for that. Obviously, you do get points when traveling, but again, it's not as straightforward as just the contract just say, do this, get this many points. There's it's a little, you have to think a little bit more here. And also traveling gives you a little bit of helps you build an engine a little bit, because as you start moving around the map and you place your little houses at areas you have gone to, a lot of those areas will have new worker placement spots that only you can go to, or only people who have houses there can go to, really. So if you're the first one there, you're the only one who can go to that worker placement spot. But as time goes on, other players will be able to do that as well. And there are also little end of round things too. So when you place your house at an area, you're either going to get a new worker placement spot or an end of round effect, which will mean, hey, look, you get a camel and 3 gold, or hey, look, you get 5 gold at the end of the round. Those are all really strong, because gaining resources in this game, you need it for contracts, as I said before, but also you really need it to travel as well. It costs money to take the travel action, and it also costs resources, a lot of times camels, on the map in order to move. Sometimes money as well. But, when you go to move, it's not just move from point A to point B. Sometimes there's like camels on the map in between point A and point B. And you're saying, oh, wait, in order to move, I need to also spend camels. And the worker placement spots are really straightforward. Like, you place a die there, and based on the pip, usually that has some effect. And again, there's always you can spend camels to change a die face up or down. You can re-roll a die. You can get more die. And even if you roll a bunch of ones, that's still not bad sometimes, you can still move, you can still get resources, you can still get contracts. There's still a lot you can do with low dice. Now, you're probably gonna want to, I guess if you roll all ones at the very beginning, that's unlikely, but you also get compensation at the beginning of the round. So I think 15 is the number. So for every number below 15 you get either a money or a camel, right? So if I roll a 12 with all of my dice at the beginning of the round, and those are the dice I'm going to put out there, well, 15 minus 12, that's 3. So I'm going to get 3 camels or $3 or 2 camels and $1 or what have you. So yeah, even if I roll all ones, well, then I think we have 5 dice, right? So then I'll get 10 camels or 5 camels and $5. And that's really helpful too. So it does feel like there is luck involved, but a lot less than you would initially think. Now, everything I said sounds pretty basic Euro, and it is a very well-designed, tight game. And normally I don't really like tight games. I like it when it feels, looser. You get a lot of resources. You can do a lot of things. I hate if I want to do something, it's going to take me a lot of turns. I'm going to really have to try and get all the resources I can to do that one thing versus, I can do this, and then I can do that, and then I get points for this, which gives me points for that. I love the plentiful nature. I mean, they're both... I know a lot of people will say, a tighter game is a more strategic game. I never think that. I think I'm doing the same crunchiness in my brain both times. I'm just having more fun with this one because I'm getting more stuff. Everything I do. Here, I'm just slowly get one resource and then get another resource. And then, now that I finally have 3, I can spend it on 2 points. And in this game, you kind of feel that way. You do feel a little starved sometimes. You always need camels if you want to move. You always need money if you want to move. The big resources that are on the contracts, like camel and money, are the most common things. But then there's the gold, silk, and the brown bags, where there's coffee, I think. Those are harder to get. I want to complete a lot of contracts, but maybe I can only do like these 2, so it is on the tighter side, but it's so well designed that I kind of don't care. There are other games that are really tight, and I can't. That is the reason why I don't like it. But here, not the case. It's very well designed. There's a decent amount of combos, not as much as I would like, but a decent amount of combos to where it really feels like you can pull off a good amount of stuff if you play your cards just right. But the other thing that I mentioned briefly, which is a huge part in this game, are the special player powers. And they are vastly, vastly different. Not just, you get an extra point for this. But no, you start on the other side of the map, or you have 2 guys, or this guy doesn't have to pay to cover up another player. That's one thing I didn't mention is, when you place your die, like worker placement, you're blocking that spot, but you can actually put a die on top of somebody else's. I'm going to that same spot you're at, but I have to pay money to do that. There's a guy who doesn't have to do that. So that is another really big thing with the game. My only complaint with it, other than it being a little bit more tighter than I would like, are the resources. If you've heard anything about this game, you've probably heard this. There are small resources and big resources meant to represent 1 and 3, but no, they don't. They're so not that different from each other that every time I'm playing, I say, no, those are all 1s. There are no 3s. There never were any 3s. Do not count those as 3s. We're just going to count them all as 1s. If somebody runs out and we need to count it as 3s, we'll cross that bridge if we get to them. But I know if we're counting those as 3s, somebody's going to make a mistake somewhere and things aren't going to add up and it's going to cause a problem. Just nope, because they're not very good. But other than that, and that's really just a component thing, this game is really phenomenal. Probably, again, it's not in my top 10 games of all time, but it's up there. It's probably going to be in my top 20, maybe top 30. I don't know, but it is a great game. I have tons of fun every time I play it. There's also a sequel to this game, which I will be reviewing soon. I'll put a link in the description once I have that review up. But also in the description, there is going to be a purchase link for this game. There's also going to be a link for Game Toppers. And either way, while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.